You're listening to NFT 365, the first daily podcast on NFTs with your host, Fanzo, talking crypto, blockchain, Web3, non-fungible tokens, metaverse, and...
What the is a non-fungible token?
We'll get to that.
What's up, friends? Welcome back to another episode of NFT 365. And of course, we are powered by the Crypto Business Conference. Crypto Business Conference is for those that are looking to level up on all things Web3, NFTs, crypto, and more. And, one of the things that I'm excited to share, especially, as we continue to push forward towards our big, 365 days in this space, is that I love that I can bring what we refer to as alpha, or just early news or early information or inside information, or information that is being discussed by many people who are kind of covering this space. But I also love sharing kind of like best practices, use cases, and like real world experience. And we even have some guests coming up on the podcast over the next couple of weeks of people that I will just tell you, like, they become fast friends of mine and people that I trust and lean on. And not only am I able to share what they share with me, but I'm able to, kind of bring them into the world. But before we get into some of that, alpha lessons learned, I did want to go to a throwback of a Mint 365. It was actually a project we minted back on March 24th. It was actually number 133. And the name of the project is the Gaming Ape Club. Now, I will tell you, I remember researching this project, and we've done some gaming, casino, and poker NFTs here in our collection. And I think, when we talk about gaming, right, the phrase gaming is kind of like Web3. It can cover anything, right? Gaming can be play to earn. It can be first-person shooter. It can be board games. It can be gamification. Could be casino games. Could be poker games. It kind of covers a big gamut. And then this one, I will say, like, one of the things that I like about the project, I love the art. It actually stands out, in my opinion, compared to a lot of the ape content or ape art. I almost feel, not almost, I definitely feel like I don't need more ape content, but I really like this art. I also like, they have a staking mechanism. They do a lot of giveaways. They have a very tight-knit community, but they also have a great website, a great community. And I will tell you, over the next couple of weeks, they're going to be executing some really cool things on their roadmap. And so I just think it's pretty cool that, as much as a lot of projects have fallen off, and as most people heard in my last episode, I'm a little fired up about, where the state of the market is and where project founders and teams have been. I will give a massive shout out to this project because I think the Gaming Ape Club, and it has a pretty nice entry point today, but I will tell you, I think it's one that will be one of the big wins in our collection that we are selling off there in November. So big shout out to them. Definitely check it out if you're interested. Of course, do your own damn research, and this is definitely not financial advice. Now, as much as this is not financial advice, I am going to give you I decided to narrow it down. Sometimes I'm all over the place with like advice and tips, but I have a little list here on my computer, and I had 16 things that I was kind of originally kind of focusing on things that I've learned through alpha groups and tight-knit communities, and some of them are group chats, some of them it's a WhatsApp community, some of them it's a Telegram community. Actually, a couple of them happen to be just a small Discord that launched kind of a unique type of alpha community. But I don't feel like you have to be in an alpha community to find success here in NFT space. But I do feel it's important to learn and listen to like kind of those that are, let's just say full-time into NFTs. Maybe they're investors, maybe they're collectors, maybe they're project founders. But I will tell you, these 3 tips really come at it from me. All 3 tips are going to be framed from the collector investor perspective, but are massively important and valuable to understand in the other side of the house when you're creating your own project, because these are some things that you're going to want to factor in and realize that are important. So the first one probably won't come as too much a surprise to anyone here who listens to the podcast, because it's probably one of the biggest lessons I learned early on in the podcast was the power of liquidity. Now that might sound basic, right? Like, well, duh, Brian. Everyone wants to have crypto at their disposal so they can buy into things. That's like, it's like saying we need more money. What liquidity and what this means to me is that it's actually important to not have all of your capital, all of your crypto, especially, let's say all of your ETH locked into projects, right? And I've made this mistake before where I'm like, you know what? I'll just buy 3 of this project or 4 of this project. And if I need liquidity tomorrow, I'll just sell one of these. I'll just flip one of these. Well, breaking news, it's not that easy to flip. It's not that easy to sell. And in many cases, not only are you going to miss the opportunity, but you're going to feel a little bit different compared to like having that liquidity at your disposal. The other thing that liquidity, and having liquidity has taught me is the importance of selling projects that you are no longer interested in, or that you're like, you know what, I might as well just sell it, cut my losses and add that to my liquidity. I like to refer to it as like some days I'll be like, okay, it's time to stack some ETH. And when I stack some ETH, sometimes it means removing my position. Maybe I have 3 of one project, and I still like the project, but I'm not as bullish as I was before. So maybe I will just, I will take a little bit less, and I will sell a couple of those. In other cases, I will tell you, this is so funny because in our Mint 365, I can't do this, right? We are buying NFTs and we are holding them. So on November 11th, there'll be 365 NFTs that will be part of that mosaic. But in my personal bag, I've noticed that, I was actually going through yesterday, laying on the couch, I have, and this isn't free mints, right? I'm in well over 500 projects total. And to me, like, there's a difference between like supporting a project and having liquidity tied up in that project. So, for those that are, kind of in that space, I know sometimes it's like, well, I don't have money to invest more. Well, what about the idea of selling some of the things you do have, not because you're giving up, but you realize that you could use that liquidity better into projects that are active now. And I will tell you, in one of my scenarios, it was about 3 weeks ago, I decided to sell a project that I really like. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sell it to get this liquidity so that I can buy into these other 2 projects that I was looking forward to. And then what I was able to do was I bought into these other 2 projects, and one of them I bought 2 of, and I just sold one of those 2 about a couple days ago. And with that profit that I made, I'm able to actually buy back in to that original project that I ejected from. And so the beauty of that is just because you're selling to get liquidity doesn't mean that you're giving up on that project. It might just mean that rather than having your ETH tied up today in that project, you should actually move your ETH free so you can buy into another project and then jump back in maybe later on. So that is number 1 of the 3. Number 2 is, without question, one of the most popular episodes of the podcast is the 3x3x3 strategy episode that we did way back when. I couldn't even tell you how that episode goes. But really the 3x3 strategy is, for me, it comes into, buying 3 NFTs, having 3 wallets, and then understanding your 3 key projects or your 3 key versions of success. But something that I've learned over the last, let's just say 4 months, is that your 3x3 strategy, buying 3 NFTs of a project, has to evolve with the not only the overarching trends of the space, but the actual the buying and selling behaviors of those that are active in the space. Let me say that again. We need to adapt our strategy, not only just to what our version of success is, but we also have to adapt it based on the overall market and who was currently active buying, selling, and trading. And one of the greatest lessons for me on that is, I used to be able to buy 3 of a project. Within the first 24 hours of minting 3, I could usually sell 1 to cover 2 of the costs because the price would go up pre-reveal. Well, what we've noticed recently is that the price doesn't really go up that much, that high of a percentage pre-reveal anymore. The other thing that we found is that massive dip after reveal doesn't always happen like as predictable as it was before. So now I still believe in the idea of buying the 3 NFTs. I still believe in having the 3 wallets, but I'm actually taking that strategy a little bit different in the sense of I'm actually not minting 3, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm usually minting 2, and then I'm buying a third off of a secondary market, once the reveal happens. And I'm trying to predict like a trend or a property that people are going to like. And then what I can do is my first sell of those 3 is actually going to be one of the 2s that I minted. And so a big lesson that I've learned from a lot of the alpha groups and communities is that you not only have to adapt your strategy based on, the project and your own individual piece, but like who are people that are buying in at that level? And I will tell you, there's not a lot of people that are buying NFTs, no matter how rare they are, if, at 5x the floor. And so if you know that 5x the floor is what your goal is, if you're trying to buy a rare NFT, you also have to just come with it and realize you probably aren't going to sell it in the short term. It's probably going to be something you're going to have to hold on to for a couple weeks or months. And that's perfectly fine. I will tell you, like for me, the NFTs that I have that are the rarer ones in these different collections, I moved a lot of them to my second ledger over the last week, and I'm just going to kind of forget about them until the market comes back and the users come back and it's kind of that visibility. So that was number 2. And then number 3, so we're going to do number 3. Number 3 is actually one that I think, it kind of ties into the other 2, but I think it's, equally important. So, I've said for a while that I believe NFT projects should invest and reward those that are holding on to their original NFT. But this has been a crutch of mine. And when I've been asking a couple of groups, I'm like, oh, how did you make money on that? Or how did you get into the potatoes NFT? Or what was your buy point? What they've actually told me is that one of the things that they try to do with the mint is if they don't mint is something very like rare or something like, has a special trait, they try to sell it immediately, even if it's just a little bit above, what they bought it for. And then their goal is to buy the floor as they feel the project momentum start to be back up. And so you're technically minting for that like kind of lottery ticket to get lucky and get more rare NFT. But then taking that and kind of getting rid of it originally and buying one on the floor. And I will tell you, this is something that I actually have deployed as of recently, and it's actually worked really well. And what I will say is, I was able to sell one of them that I was like, ooh, I got this one. People are going to like this artwork. And so I put it for sale. I sold it kind of immediately. But then I just sat back and I let the market, people buying and selling and flipping and trading. And then I started to realize, okay, where do I think the floor needs to be for me to pick up 2 of these, right? And so that's what I ended up doing, where I was able, and it wasn't really my 3x3 strategy. It was more of this idea of knowing what is the reason for minting versus buying on the floor after reveal. Like if you don't really care to get a rare one, then you might actually be better off waiting till something actually mints and the reveal happens. And I will tell you, this is maybe the bonus number 4 of this, is that a lot of the people in a lot of the alpha groups that I belong to, they don't mint very many NFTs. We mint one every day here with the project. I personally like minting and investing in a project before it starts to take off. But one of the things that I've heard a lot is that people are looking at the 30-day mark. So 30 days after a project launches, they're going to check back and say, okay, what did it launch at? What are some of the trends? What does the Discord look like? What is the momentum of the project? How does that community activating? And if the project is still as valuable as they thought it was on day 1, on day 30, then they're going to jump back in. And in many cases, they're aping back in, which just means they're going to buy a bunch of them and try to hold on to them because they look at it at a 30-day out. So it's actually something that I think is a great strategy as well, is that if you feel like you've minted into too many projects that have just failed or aren't what you thought they were, go back and tap into some of the projects that are 30 or 60 days old that have held their momentum pretty strong since their launch. You'll probably have better luck holding on to them and kind of buying into them and seeing how they go as well. And the last thing I want to share, well, first I'll give a shout out to definitely to our sponsor, the Crypto Business Conference. You can learn more about it at socialmediaexaminer.com/NFT365. Amazing lineup of people that are being added to that roster right now. They're very close to finalizing the speaker roster, and you definitely want to check it out. I'm excited to be there and excited to see a lot of you there. But the piece I wanted to kind of leave you with is that, the whole idea of like an alpha group, right? The idea of having people that are with you on this journey is that it's really too hard to be everywhere, to know every project and every person that is launching something, that is a part of something, that is building something. But what you can do is surround yourself with people that are in different groups and different communities. One of the biggest mistakes I made early on was I only really surrounded myself with people that had the exact same philosophy and strategy that I had. And then I would say, how did we keep missing on that project? Or why didn't we know about that gaming project there? Well, as of recently, I've kind of grown my circle of people that I listen to. And some of them, it's a DM group. Others, it's just I added them into a Twitter list so that I see their content. And if they're posting about something, now I'm going to take notice. And it's really, really important to have a diverse group of people that are into diverse projects, because that is really the best way that you're going to be able to kind of be in the know while also not being overwhelmed and, of course, having some time to touch some grass. So I hope that helped. That's a little, three tips from, some things that I've learned in this alpha world that we are in, that hopefully will help you be a better NFT investor and a better NFT collector. And I will just say, for all of those that are creating their own NFT project, understanding the behaviors of NFT investors, collectors, and what alpha groups care about is essential for not only the launch of your NFT project, but for that long-term sustainability of your NFT project. So for those that are trying to launch, don't discard advice and tips and information on what investors and collectors are looking for. It could be the greatest source of what you need to make sure that you factor in for your projects. Until tomorrow, my friends, make it a great day. Cheers.